Good morning, guys. As I'm sitting here staring at my friend and worship director, Derek, and this camera in a big empty room like I always in, what's neat about this is now that I've been with you, I can imagine you and I can see you in my mind's eye there in Jamie and Catherine's living room, and it's very, very cool. Guys, thank you again for last week. You know, I love being able to stay connected with you on a personal level, and I'm sure that's obvious as to why I love that. I also want to remind you, and I think you know this, that I feel like as a church, I genuinely think Simplicity is on the right path. You know, I heard Jamie say it, and Mary Beth say it. I've heard multiple people say it, that this emphasis on let's get healthy, let's go as deep as we can, let's get our feet underneath us, there's some stability there. And so when God, and I said this last week, finally does tell you here or there, you'll be able to recognize that for what it is. And so, well done. I think what matters the most, and I don't think he'd mind me saying this, Charlie and Joanne are probably already gone to Florida by now, but Charlie told me that Simplicity had changed his life. And guys, the size is irrelevant. If God is doing that through us, that's the point. And so, church, well done, guys. All right. This week here in Indiana, what I'm going to do is I'll start the time I have with them by really telling them what I talked to you guys about this last week. Hopefully diplomatically, hopefully gently, but clearly I'll talk about us being stuck, the fact that here we are stuck, and then I'll outline how for the rest of the month I'm going to sort of cast the vision, and not just the vision, but the plan. Where do we go from here? Over the last few months, I've had the staff here trying to bring them together and have some, instead of just department, have some unified direction amongst the staff. We're all moving in this singular direction of where do we go from stuck. And I wanted to show you, I have a wonderful young woman named Jenny that does our communications for us here, and she even created a video that's going to help kick off this month and get us moving in the right direction. I thought I'd share it with you because I think it's cool. Watch this. Neat, huh? I think so. All right, stuck. Let's stay there. For this morning, you know, guys, that word has been bouncing around in my head for the last few months, and I couldn't help but think about myself as it pertained to stuck. And I'd like for you to do the same. Not think about me, but think about you and stuck. Is there anywhere in your life where you feel, stuck? Is there any place where you feel like you could use a little growth, a little bit of change? Is there anywhere where you would like to have God help you or the community help you move in a positive direction? I mean, for me, it's probably obvious. As awful as this may be, I want you to picture this with me. Last week, think about me in an airplane seat. Stuck. You know, I used to be too tall. Now I'm too tall and too wide. I'm stuck. I mean, I swear to you, I'm like 2 cheeseburgers away from a seatbelt extension. It's stuck. And I have to make jokes about it. You guys know I had 2 major knee surgeries while I was there, which didn't work for me at all. They're actually worse now than before, which has led to inactivity, which has led to weight gain, which is just this wonderful spiral. And I've tried and I've stopped so many times. I mean, it's just, It's time. I have to do something. I've always been a big guy, but I'm honestly at a place now where I have to. I have no alternative. If I want to be healthy and look to the future and have some longevity, I really have to do something, because physically, as wonderful as the rest of my facets of my lives are, I'm stuck, you know. How about you? Not physically, of course. Most of you, I think about like Mary Beth and the twins and all. Most of you guys are as fit as a fiddle. But is there any place where you feel stuck? Career, relationships, maybe on your spiritual journey? Is there any place? You know, I thought about this, and I think one of the places that we tend to get stuck the most is just in a good old garden variety rut. You know, we get stuck in a rut, and I swear the devil does this, and he just absolutely loves it. I mean, think about it. Jesus was driven by God's Spirit, which I think is critical. He was driven by God's Spirit into the wilderness or into the desert to be tested. Do you remember that story? And in the temptation that he faced, I think we've talked about this before. In the temptation that he faced, each temptation sort of embodies every temptation in one way, shape, or form that you and I face. For example, turn the stone to bread, which is to basically say, God, give me the reins. I can handle this. I can provide for myself. I know what's best for me. I'm going to be in charge now. Or to jump from the temple is basically to assume that just because my intentions are good, I can take the lead and God will follow. I mean, that's a good assumption, right? Or to bow down and to worship, because so long as your intentions are right, so long as you think you're going in a positive direction, the means always justify the ends, correct? Again, being sarcastic, but every temptation in some way, shape, or form we face is right there. But I think one of the greatest temptations that we face is to refuse to allow ourselves to be driven into the wilderness at all. I honestly think a huge temptation is just to avoid the wilderness, which in essence means to avoid life altogether. You know, we sort of play it safe and we insulate ourselves. And in a sense, what we do is we put our nose squarely in the behind of the pack mule right in front of us. And the view is awful and the smell is even worse. But hey, we're safe, right? We know where we're going. What's next? Nothing hurts. Nothing hurts. Here's the thing. It's like before you know it, life passes you by. I mean, the devil may be a liar, but he's not stupid. Fair enough? All right. Stuck. Anybody, in any way, shape, or form. For this week and next, I want you to think about that, because from here, this is where you might expect me to start talking about New Year's resolutions. And if New Year's resolutions work for you, that's great. I mean, the problem is statistically, only about 8% of our New Year's resolutions are actually kept. So I don't think New Year's resolutions are all that effective. And if your stuck is as serious as mine, at least I take it seriously, then we need something way more effective than 8%. Fair enough? So here's what I want to ask you to do. And this is how I've set our vision for the church, and we'll talk about this again in 3 weeks for the church as a community. But years ago, I had a friend suggest to me that, she had this habit of she would pick one word for the upcoming year. And what she would do is she would prayerfully think about where she was and really prayerfully think about where she thought God would have her go. And then she would pick this one word that might help keep her on track as she moved into that. It's like she cast a vision with one word and then tried to live into it. Let me give you an example of how I think this differs from a resolution or a goal. Have you ever, and I don't think it's just me, any of you ever set a goal for losing weight? Now, here's the thing. How many of you have ever failed to lose that weight? Or you lost the weight and then you put it all back on. But you're so fixated and it's just this back and forth and win and lose part of it. I want to share with you something that I think is just powerful as it pertains to goal setting and willpower. Listen to this. This is from The Celebration of Discipline by Richard Foster, an extraordinary book. He writes, our ordinary method of dealing with ingrained sin, bad behaviors, negative habits, etc., is to launch a frontal attack We rely on our willpower and determination. Whatever may be the issue for us, whether it's anger or fear or bitterness or gluttony or pride or lust or substance abuse, we determine we're never going to do it again. And we pray against it and we fight against it and we set our will against it. But the struggle is all in vain, he writes. We find ourselves once again morally bankrupt, or worse yet, so proud of our external righteousness that whitewashed tombs is a mild description of our condition. In his excellent little book entitled Freedom from Sinful Thoughts, Heine Arnold writes this: we want to make it quite clear that we cannot free and purify our own heart by exerting our own will. One more sentence, this is cool. The moment that we feel we can succeed and attain victory over sin by the strength of our will alone is the moment that we are worshiping the will. Isn't it ironic that the Apostle Paul looks at our most strenuous efforts in the spiritual walk and calls them idolatry, will worship? So, what I'm suggesting is maybe instead of fixating on losing weight, whatever your thing is, instead of fixating on losing weight, this year we cast a one-word vision. For example, maybe it's health. What we fixate on is God. What we give power to by giving our attention to is God. And then ask Him every day, show us, help us move toward health, or whatever your one word may be, as He sees fit. Does that make sense? I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive, and what normally you would think is, I've got a problem, I'm going to set a goal, but let's go get it. But like I said last week, so much of following Jesus Christ is trusting Him enough to do the counterintuitive. So, one word, just one, toward which you believe God would have you move. And I'm going to ask you again this next week. Then the following week, I'll talk about the one word for us as a church. But for now, spend this week thinking. One. Just one word. Now, let me end by telling you why I think it's so important that you want this for yourself. And I realize that stuck, whatever your stuck may be, may hold hands, mine does, may hold hands with just all kinds of failure. You may have tried and failed so many times at whatever this is that you're just kind of tired of it. But this is important. I want you to remember that your life is always bigger than you. Your life is always bigger than you. I want you to listen to something Jesus said. It's out of the Gospel of Matthew, and I'll read it out of the Message paraphrase because it's just written so well. Listen for the word of God. Let me tell you, Jesus says, why you are here. You're here to be the salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? You've lost her usefulness and will end up in the garbage. Here's another way to put it. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up to God, this generous Father of ours in heaven. Now think about that. God has a purpose for you that is bigger than just you, huh? I want you to watch something with me. It's a video that I saw a few years ago, and I watch it this time of year every year. Watch this.
So ladies and gentlemen, at TED we talk a lot about leadership and how to make a movement. So let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons from it. First, of course you know, a leader needs the guts to stand out and be ridiculed. But what he's doing is so easy to follow. So here's his first follower with a crucial role. He's going to show everyone else how to follow. Now notice that the leader embraces him as an equal. So now it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Now there he is calling to his friends. Now if you notice that the first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. It takes guts to stand out like that. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader. And here comes a second follower. Now it's not a lone nut, it's not two nuts, 3 is a crowd, and a crowd is news. So a movement must be public. It's important to show not just the leader, but the followers, because you find that new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, and immediately after, 3 more people. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point. Now we've got a movement. So notice that as more people join in, it's less risky. So those that were sitting on the fence before now have no reason not to. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, but they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. So over the next minute, you'll see all of the those that prefer to stick with the crowd, because eventually they would be ridiculed for not joining in. And that's how you make a movement. But let's recap some lessons from this. So first, if you are the type, like the shirtless dancing guy, that is standing alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals. So it's clearly about the movement, not you. Okay, but we might have missed the real lesson here. The biggest lesson, if you noticed, did you catch it? Is that leadership is over-glorified. That yes, it was the shirtless guy was first, and he'll get all the credit, but it was really the first follower that transformed the lone nut into a leader. So as we're told that we should all be leaders, that would be really ineffective. If you really care about starting a movement, have the courage to follow and show others how to follow. And when you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first one to stand up and join in. And what a perfect place to do that, TED. Thanks.
I don't mean any disrespect in the way I say this, but if you call yourself a Christ follower, in many ways you follow a lone nut. A man, a God who lived and who laughed and who loved, and then on this hill called Golgotha, he danced. But as important as Jesus is, and he is so important, don't ever underestimate your role as a follower. You were created to season, to illuminate, to dance like mad with a nut on a hill. And through you, another, and another, and another, and another. I mean, don't ever underestimate your role in the movement. Think about this. It's like, you're too old, Ward, or, I mean, how much older was Elizabeth than Mary? Are you too young, or too broke, or too busy, or, come on. In love's hands, your life is always bigger than you, huh? So what I'm asking you to do is think about this with me. Pray about it with me. Think about a one-word vision that you could cast for yourself. And we'll have a one-word vision for the church, but for you, just one word. Now, to end, I want you to do something with me. Imagine that video. If you're willing, I want you to see yourself dancing on that hill. Dancing, that's sort of something I would do, take my shoes off, but see yourself dancing on that hill. And I want you to understand that in 2018, as you dance your way into your word, as we dance our way into our word, what I can promise you is that God himself, the original lone nut, and the rest of we nuts, I pray there'll be 1,000 of us here in Indiana, that we will all be dancing together. And at the end of the day, I think that's pretty cool. I love you guys. I look forward to next week, and I'll see you soon.